episode of Building Bridges, I'm joined by Rohini, who works with VASL as a community champion, and today we're going to be looking at VASL and the support they provide in the community. Thank you for joining me, Rohini.
Thanks, Alex. I'm really glad to be here.
No, it's brilliant. And Rohini, who are VASL?
Right, well, this is a question that many people ask, Alex. So, VASL stands for Voluntary Action South Leicestershire. We're a local charity based in Market Harborough.
Yeah.
We've been here for almost 30 years. And what we do is we utilise local volunteers to help improve the community in lots of different ways. We've got 6 different projects.
Okay, fantastic. And so you said that you've got 6 different projects. What are these projects?
Right, well, the first project is called Support for Carers.
Yeah.
And this is for people who are informal carers. So they're family members taking care of family or of neighbours. And what they do is to provide the emotional and the practical support for people.
Yeah.
And what Support for Carers from VASL do is that we run carers groups all around the county to give them information to help with the carers assessment.
Yeah.
We also have a telephone helpline if people want to talk issues through. And we also have a carers passport that people can use to identify themselves as carers. And then there are certain places where they can get discounts and free coffees at some leisure centres and some other places. So it's all about taking care of the carer.
Yeah.
Because we know if the carer's in a good place, then the people they support are cared for. It will also be in a good place. So that's an amazing project, and you can find more about all of these on the VASL website.
Okay.
Another project is Community Champion. That's the one I manage. That's a project about tackling loneliness amongst older people. So our target group are people who are over 60, live on their own, and what we do is to provide companionship through volunteers. So we've got about 50 volunteers at the moment who go and visit people at home, chat to them about their hobbies, and then accompany them out into the community.
Yeah.
And we also have digital volunteers that can help people
Okay.
get online, use Facebook, email, etc. Learn how to use the NHS app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need it.
Yeah, and this morning I had a lady asking me, where do I need to look if I win the premium bond? So that's quite practical.
It is. It's very important to know that.
Yeah. And then through the project, what we do is organise a whole range of different project events. So we do community gatherings where we use the Harbour community buses that are fully accessible, go home, collect people and take them out to a cafe or a pub, have tea and cake so that they can meet their peers, and then they can extend their social network.
Oh, which is lovely.
Yeah, and then we do some intergenerational work.
Yeah.
So we work with Welland Academy, who host our community gatherings for us at Christmas time and Easter. And then we also do some work with Robert Smythe Academy on an initiative called Human Library, where we get people, older people, to share their life experiences. So that's Community Champions. And then we've got another project called Community Wellbeing Harbour.
Yeah.
So this is for people who have had mental health issues, but are now at the stage where they're ready to re-engage with the community. So what this project offers is you can get phone calls from a volunteer to help people build up their wellbeing toolkit.
Yeah.
So finding out what they're interested in and then linking them to local groups. So it may be that you always enjoy being near water and you want to find out about what community is.
Okay, yeah.
That sort of thing. They also offer monthly workshops, and they also encourage peer networking. So you can see it's all about empowering people to build a new way of approaching their life.
Yeah. And it's based on what they enjoy as well, rather than just a generic, here, this is what we offer. See you later type one.
Yeah, spot on. So what they do is there's a model called the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, which says that things like connecting with people, eating healthily, exercising, all help you maintain good well-being.
Yeah.
So what we do is we use that generic model but allow people to customise it for a way that works for them.
Yeah.
Because things only work if it fits your life.
Exactly, and what you enjoy and in your time in life.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other project, the fourth project I want to talk about, is called VASL Community Transport. This is incredible. It's aimed at people who don't have their own transport, or for a whole range of reasons are unable to use public transport. So what we have is, I think at the moment we've got about 42 volunteers who are drivers. So as well as giving us their time, they use their vehicles. We make sure that they're roadworthy, properly insured. And what they do is they give people who need lifts to mostly medical appointments. So living in Harborough, a lot of people have to go to hospital in Leicester, Southampton, Kettering. It's a long way to go, and if you're in a stressed position because you're going for scans or to get results, it can be really, really difficult for people who haven't got family in the area. So what users of the scheme do is they register and they book up, let us know when their appointment is, and the lovely transport team will make arrangements with a volunteer. And for me, what's unique about this scheme is that the volunteer driver will pick you up from home, take you to the right bit of the hospital and wait for you and bring you home. So it's door-to-door personal service. For me, it's like befriending on wheels.
No, exactly. And like I think you just touched on, if someone's waiting for scan results, or even just sometimes leaving the house to go into the community, if you're not used to it or you're not fully mobile, it can be quite a daunting experience. And then relying on a taxi, or so knowing that you've got someone to stay with you, take you there, take you to the right place and wait for you, takes that little bit of nervous edge off.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think sometimes it's the personal touch that makes something that could be very stress-inducing more bearable. And then another project we have is the Carers Dementia Guardian project. So this is a project where we've got volunteers that will look after the carer of someone who is looking after a person with dementia. As you know, Alex, there's lots of services available for people with dementia, and I know you've done a podcast about it. But sometimes what gets forgotten is that the carer who's doing all that looking after, they also need some self-care.
100%.
So what this project does is it has a volunteer that meets up with the carer and just gives them some space. It might be space to offload. It might be a bit of respite time for them to go off and do something. It might actually be an opportunity to ask some really personal questions about the situation they find themselves in. So what we're finding is that the connection that form between these volunteers and carers of those with dementia are really deep.
I can imagine.
So that's a project that's been running for a year, and the feedback has been phenomenal.
And I'm not surprised, because as a full-time carer, I think a lot of times you get forgotten. And you know, a lot of times we see, even with our clients and their family members, that it is a really overwhelming situation. You feel that you're by yourself. And it's one of those things, and I know I feel it. If I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed or worried about something, keeping it in is 1,000 times worse than going to someone. If I have a chat with my wife, it feels like just by speaking out loud, it takes the weight of the world off your shoulders. So you being able to provide someone that they can then trust in. And sometimes outside of that family relationship is important, because it's just someone who's not going to judge you and just going to sit there and listen. I think that's sometimes what you really need.
I couldn't agree with you more, Alex, because I think they say a problem shared is a problem halved. And I think sometimes we all have so much going on in our heads, but we don't always get the opportunity to be really listened to and heard. And we know, don't we, that that's why things like counselling are so important, because it gives us time to articulate what's going on in our heads. And then if people can do non-judgmental listening, what you feel is that you have a chance to sort through things.
No, I completely agree with you.
And then the other project I want to mention, another couple, is there's something called the Carers Hospital Discharge Scheme, Hospital Discharge Grant. So VASL has been given some money, and it is for carers where the person that they cared for has been discharged from hospital in a hospital in Leicestershire in the last 2 weeks. And it's really an opportunity for the carers to apply for some grant funding to help them with additional costs. So, for example, you might find that someone who's been discharged from hospital needs lots of follow-up appointments.
Yeah.
So you could get some money towards that. You might find that they've been given a hospital bed and you need to get a whole new set of bedding.
Yeah.
It could be that the person that's been in hospital has had to have different clothes that we just put on.
Yeah.
So anything practical where a little bit of money would help you to support the person that's come out of hospital, please welcome. The only thing that's important to say about this is you can only apply for it once.
Yeah.
So people need to think about what would make the most practical difference.
Yes.
And like we've been discussing through this podcast, that money can also be used for a bit of respite. You might get a sitting service.
Okay, yeah.
Where someone says, I just need now to go for a swim, my own well-being.
Yeah.
And we really, really encourage that. So for all of these services I've been talking about, they've each got separate numbers, but the easiest thing to do is to look on the VASL website, and then you can get the contact details and even make online applications.
Okay, fantastic. So you mentioned that it's South Leicestershire.
Yeah.
Sort of roughly, whereabouts does that incorporate?
Right. So, if people know, Market Harborough is between Leicester City and Northampton.
Yeah.
And Leicestershire is a very sort of round county that is distributed about 20-mile radius around Leicester City.
Yeah.
And actually, whilst I remember, Alex, one other project I want to mention is the Carers Energy Project. So this is a project where we've got a qualified energy advisor who can go out and see carers and advise them on how to get the best energy deals. Because as we know, the cost of energy is going up so much, but there are ways of getting the most effective tariff for carers.
No, fantastic. So, just going back a little bit to the sort of South Leicestershire area.
Yeah.
So, obviously I know that you do work in Overley, Wigston, and then you come down to Market Harborough. Is that sort of the length of it?
Right. So this is where it all gets interesting. Out of these projects I've told you about, we've all got different coverage areas.
Okay, fine.
So, for example, with the Community Wellbeing Harbour and Community Champion, we cover Harborough District.
Harborough District, yeah.
So, we've got Market Harborough, Lutterworth, and the huge rural area that goes up to the A47.
Yes.
Yeah. But for the Support for Carers project and the Energy project, they cover the whole of Leicestershire County.
Okay, fantastic.
And that's because they're funded by the County Council. And then our transport area covers part of Harborough District and another part nearer Leicester.
Okay.
And it's just to keep it interesting.
Exactly.
It mixes it all up.
Exactly. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. So like you said, the best way to find out about all of these sits and where they cover and what you can actually get is by going onto the VASL website, finding the details, and then calling someone.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, you're a registered charity, so I'm assuming all of these services are free to the people using them?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Alex. What we do is we get funding from different funders, so Leicestershire County Council, National Lottery Community Fund, local charities like Market Harborough and Bowden's Charity, and also the Freemasons Charity. So what that enables us to do is to provide all those services free at the point of delivery.
Yeah, which I think is really important for people to be aware about.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're looking at maybe energy or any other things, you're probably worrying about costs or finances, and therefore you're maybe worried about going to get advice and it's going to cost you more. So knowing that this service is free is a really important thing for the community to be aware about.
Yeah, you're so right, because I think particularly carers have got so many ways that to actually think about, shall I make an appointment and find out how to save money, that seems like on the bottom of the list.
Exactly.
Whereas if you can say that an energy advisor can come out and see you in your own home, then that seems much more meaningful.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. So, can we talk a bit more about you and your role as a community champion and what you support?
Yeah. So my role at VASL is to be the Community Champions Manager for the project.
Yeah.
And do you know, Alex, we are so fortunate that the National Lottery Community Fund has funded us for 8 years to enable us to do the work in tackling loneliness and increasing social connection. We've just got another 3 years of funding.
Okay, brilliant.
So what we'll be doing from September is to go out and do a big volunteer recruitment drive. Because sadly, what we find is we're getting lots of referrals, so from adult social care, from other charities, from families, from individuals themselves, who say, and I think this is such a brave thing, I feel lonely and I need help with meeting other people. So I'm just so pleased that we'll be able to carry on doing what we're doing and develop further interventions.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, especially in Harborough, where it is such a rural area, and it is really difficult for someone with mobility issues or anything to get from one place to another. You know, a lot of people think, okay, well, Kibworth is next to Market Harborough, which in theory it is if you spend 15 minutes in a car. So I don't think people appreciate the size of Harborough and how rural some of these villages are.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, Alex. I think for a lot of people, transport is one of the biggest barriers. So it's all very well producing a list saying, look, there are all these wonderful groups, all these events you can go to. But if your own mobility doesn't allow that, and if there isn't good, accessible public transport, then it's not really a viable choice.
No, completely agree with that. So we're going to look at a big recruitment on volunteers.
Yes.
What would you need to become a volunteer with yourself?
Brilliant. Right. So all of the projects I mentioned are looking for volunteers.
Yes.
So the one that we really need volunteers for at the moment is our transport project.
Yeah.
So to be a transport volunteer, you need to be over 25 and have a valid driving licence and be willing to use your own car when you're volunteering.
Okay, yeah.
You just need to let your insurance company know that you'll be doing that. And your insurance won't go up, but they'll just know that the vehicle's being used for volunteering.
Yes.
And then, for all of our projects, we ask potential volunteers to fill in a registration form.
Yep.
And that's so that we can learn a bit more about you as a person, what your motivation for volunteering is, what availability you've got. And then each of the projects, depending on which one you want to work with, will provide training. And then even after you've been trained, there'll be ongoing support.
Yeah.
One of the things I think VASL has learned after COVID, it's much harder to recruit new volunteers for a whole variety of reasons. And so what we do is we are really, really careful about looking after the volunteers we've got. So we do lots of appreciation events. We have newsletters to keep volunteers informed of what's happening.
Yeah.
So attracting and retaining volunteers is really important for us.
No, completely, because the volunteers are your service, aren't they, in the nicest way possible. Without them, you can't support the people that
That's absolutely right,
And you mentioned COVID, and we won't go too much into it, but what have you seen in terms of the difference maybe 4 years ago during the pandemic to where we are today? Do you feel that people are now getting more of the confidence to go back into the community, or do you still feel there's potentially some, leftover from that?
That's a really interesting question, Alex, because I think the answer is a mixture.
Yeah.
So what we saw, say, for Community Champions, some of our clients, they were on what was called the clinically vulnerable list.
Yeah.
So they've got letters from the government saying it's dangerous for you to go out and mix.
Yeah.
So there are people we had worked with before COVID who were getting quite good at going out and joining people.
Yeah.
And we saw some of them recess in a really, really bad way, where people didn't feel at all comfortable coming out. And so what we did was a lot of work when we built up very, very gradually. We had volunteers going, sitting in the garden, talking to clients.
Yeah.
When the clients were ready, we'd have groups of 2 or 3 meeting in the park.
Okay.
And then we did little groups of 6, and now we've built up to our events, which are more similar to what we had pre-COVID. I mean, interestingly, we used to take groups of 40 out,
Yeah.
But what we found was that was quite intimidating because it's an overwhelming number of people.
Yeah.
Whereas with 25, it seems much more doable. So there are those sorts of changes. On the flip side, there were some other people who had missed face-to-face, real-life connection so much that they were thrilled to come out as soon as they knew it was safe.
Yeah.
So we had to get our messaging right. We had to make sure that we'd done all our risk assessments. And then we're sort of now getting back to the sort of program we had before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just touched on about the getting back to the events that you used to hold.
Yeah.
So what type of events do you do at the moment?
Okay, so I've talked about the community gatherings where we use the Harborough community buses that are fully accessible. Go home and pick up older people from their premises and then take them out either to a local golf club, a tea room or a pub. We have some tea and cake, give everyone a chance to get to know one another. And sometimes we have speakers. So speakers will come and talk about support available for older people.
Yes.
So we've had speakers come and talk about things like friendship lunches or sports opportunities, anything that might be of interest to get people out in the community. Another type of event we do is called a learning session. So we have people that come and talk about something that's really a catalyst for discussion. So just recently, one of my newer volunteers came and talked about the Seychelles. He's been out there 2 times, stayed with a local family.
Yeah.
So he talked about, you know, the flora and the fauna, what he'd seen, what he'd learned about that culture. And then that enabled our clients to share some of their travel experiences. Another one we had was where people come and talk about skills related to forming relationships. So we've had Leicestershire Adult Learning Services do sessions about effective communication, about building rapport.
Yeah.
And then we've also just started doing a bit of work about trying to understand what ageism is and how we can tackle that. So you can see they're quite broad ranging.
Yeah. And you keep them busy.
That's for sure, yeah.
And I think one of the things you just touched on is for, you know, some of your events, you have the Harborough buses and you actually go to their houses to pick them up.
Yeah.
I think that's another barrier to entry, isn't it? Sometimes that people hold events, but how do I get there?
Yes.
So I think that's really important for people to be aware about. That actually you can go to someone's house and pick them up, to take them to these type of events, and I think that social interaction for people is just hugely important. A lot of people actually miss it, don't they? And don't get that social interaction what they need.
Yeah, I think you're so right, Alex. And I was sharing with you earlier that sometimes a lot of our clients will say these times when you come and pick us up and take us to an event are the only times they get moved from the life. It means so much to them that they will, you know, get their hair done or get a new pair of earrings or a scarf because it is like an outfit. And I think, you know, for us, it might seem like a little thing, but just for somebody to make it easy for you to get out is really important. And you've just reminded me, actually, this week we had a lovely new event. We had some staff from the insurance company, Hastings Direct in Leicester, from their vulnerable customer support team, who wanted to ring some of our clients. So for the staff at Hastings Direct, their company give them time to volunteer. And they wanted to do something where they were learning from other older people.
Yeah.
And for our clients, they were just intrigued to know, what is it like today to be a young professional working for a big insurance company in Leicester? So we set these telephone befriending calls up. And then this week, on Wednesday, most of them had between 6 and 8 conversations.
Yeah.
And they've ranged between half an hour to over an hour. But this week, they had the opportunity to speak face-to-face.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you, Alex, it was just magical to observe how some of them were hugging, they brought photos in of things they talked about in their conversations. And then all the Hastings Direct staff have brought them gifts of appreciation. And you know, when you get some moments in your life when you think, this is magic.
This is what it's about.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. It was just joyous.
And you just mentioned on, obviously, the Hastings and those communication bits. But earlier you mentioned the intergenerational ones at the school. So what happens there?
Right, so with Human Library, this was an idea I read about on the internet.
Yeah.
So it came from Denmark. And in Denmark, what they do is they ask people with a life experience around diversity that they're happy to share to give a talk.
Yeah.
So, for example, it might be someone that's acquired disability, or someone that's transsexual, or someone in a mixed race relationship, you know, anything that you're willing to talk about.
Yeah.
So what we decided is that we would talk more about a person's experience. So we ask our clients or our volunteers if they're happy to give a talk about their professional background, anywhere they've travelled, any life experience. And we've had some amazing sessions. So if I give you a couple of examples, we had Ken, who's a 91-year-old client of ours, the former civil servant, who talked about his memories of being a child when the Second World War started. So he talked about how his parents told him that Britain was at war, seeing some of the warplanes, the start of rationing, what it was like to have Anderson shelters. And it was very moving testimony.
Yeah.
And for me, I think what was really telling was at the end, the students were coming up to thank him, saying, "Sir, that was one of the best history lessons we've ever had." I could just see the history teacher bristling in the background.
But I think it's so important, isn't it? Because actually that's real life history from someone.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes at school you're just getting taught from a book.
Yeah.
So having someone who's lived through it and tell you their life experience, it sort of resonates and it makes it more interesting and more engaging for people, rather than sometimes you feel at school someone's just got the textbook out and reading it just because that's what they need to do. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I think oral history gives you so much sort of personal connection with the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, instead of it just being somewhere way out there, it's a person that's right there in front of you. And then if you want any follow-up questions, they're there to answer them. In terms of Human Library, Alex, we've had so many different ones. So we've had 2 people who worked as district nurses.
Yeah.
But one worked in South Africa and one worked in England. So that was really interesting to hear. So we had one volunteer who worked at Asprey's, the Royal Jewellers.
Okay.
And he was telling us about, you know, the kind of people who used to come in and the fact that nothing had a price on it. So you would be in that shop if you knew price wasn't an issue.
Exactly.
So that's like an insight into a whole different world.
It's how the other half lives. If you can go into a shop and there's no price tag.
And then, you know, we had another volunteer who'd worked in the prison service for 35 years. So he'd worked at the prison in Harborough, but lots of prisons around the country. And that was fascinating because he was able to reflect on how the prison service has changed and the kind of opportunities, education opportunities there are for prisoners. And then we had another volunteer and her daughter who talked about being an air traffic controller. So that's a kind of profession you don't always think about going into. But
I was going to say, ever think about, you don't realise. Obviously, you get on a plane, but you don't realise that actually, or think about that there's someone actually guiding everybody and making sure that the planes are where they need to be.
Yeah, and she had so many questions about, you know, how do you get into this profession? What skills do they look for?
Yeah.
So, to be honest with you, Alex, I feel really lucky to have been to all of these talks. Because what I do afterwards is just do a little write-up that we get published in the Harborough Mail.
Yeah.
And the rationale for that is that more people can benefit from that. So if people want to read more about what we've done with Human Library, it's all available on the VASL website under Community Champion.
Okay, brilliant. And people were interested in maybe coming to an event or the Human Library or any of the services that VASL may provide.
Yeah.
They can just pick and choose, can't they? To say, actually, I'm really interested in coming to one of your events because actually I want to get out and socialise with, you know, people within the community, but I don't feel like maybe the Human Library is my sort of, they can pick and choose.
Yeah. So what we say is once they've joined the project and they've had their assessment and that, once they become a member of the project, then yes, they can absolutely pick and choose. Because I think we're very keen that we fit the project around the individual rather than the other way around.
100%.
And I think what we've learned is that individuals are very, very different. So people have a different journey into loneliness.
Yeah.
Some people might have moved to the area to be near family and then realise that family are very busy during the week and have got time for them at weekend.
Yeah.
Some people become lonely because they've had health issues, which mean they can't go out, they can't drive. Some people become lonely because all their peer group has died.
Yeah.
So for all of those situations, different things will work for different people depending on their interests and their personality.
No, yeah.
And their financial situation as well.
No, I 100% agree with you. And I think the reason, you know, I admire and love VASL so much is because it is about that community. It's about bringing people together, and it's recognising that social and emotional need. For me, and the reason, you know, why we started Bridgewater was exactly that. That so many people just look at the physical needs of someone and think that actually we need support. They don't recognise or potentially pay attention to the emotional social side and bringing people into the community together and realising the health benefits of, you know, being around people and what it can bring.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. There's so much research emerging now that being lonely is as bad as smoking 20 cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
That people who are lonely have more cardiac problems. So it's interesting, isn't it, that something emotional has a physical manifestation.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, the reason I love working in the loneliness field is I think loneliness is a very human experience.
Yeah.
It can happen to us at any time in our lives. It might be when you become a new mother, or when you become a student at a university for the first time, or when you're unemployed. You know, there's so many life transitions that can move you away from people. But for me, you know, we've all got the solution in our hand.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as smiling at someone, acknowledging them, making time for them. And if we all did a bit more of that, we could actually get back to having a bit more of a community as there were in previous years.
No, exactly. And I think even now, if you walk past someone on the street and say good morning, half the people look quite shocked, don't they? That someone's actually said good morning to them. So I think you're right. I think it's just that little bit of effort and just that little bit of attention can make such a difference to someone's day or someone's life.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's such a little thing, isn't it?
It is.
What's 2 minutes out of our day?
No, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned why you love what you do. So, Rohini, we've heard a lot about VASL.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you end up a community champion?
Okay. So my story is that I was born in Kenya, in Nairobi.
Yeah.
And then, like many Asian families in Leicester have done, we moved over to England when I was 6.
Yeah.
My parents settled in Bristol, so I went to school there. And then I went to university at Cambridge and studied science. And then I decided I really wanted to go into teaching. So that's what brought me to Leicester. I did the teacher training there. And I really enjoyed being a primary school teacher. But then, when the national curriculum came in, like we're talking a few years ago, everything became really rigid. Like you were told what to teach, how to assess it. And I thought, I just want to work somewhere that's a bit more creative.
Yeah.
So I joined the voluntary sector, and I've done lots of different jobs in the voluntary sector around, you know, underrepresented groups.
Yeah.
And then for a while I worked at BBC Pebble Mill, and that was also in an equality role. And that was fascinating, because what we were trying to do there was to get journalists to represent the voices of many more diverse people on air. But then when we moved to Harborough, I wanted a local job where you were investing time and energy into building your local community.
Yeah.
So can you imagine, Alex, when this job was advertised, I was like, for real? I could not believe that there was a project that was about building social capital.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing I was just absolutely amazed by is that often with projects, you have very, very linear ways of working. You know, this is our intervention, this is our solution. But what the lottery have encouraged us to do is to explore different interventions.
Yeah.
So just as an example, for some older people, learning digital has been life-changing. So I know there was an 89-year-old lady who we introduced to an iPad, and she took like a duck to water, and she was sending us photos of when she'd been out, you know, she was emailing her friends all across the world. But for other older people, even if you point out the benefits of digital, they don't want to embrace it. So I think what we try and do is to be really respectful of people's choice and their agency.
Yeah.
And then things like, you know, having the intergenerational work. We've done quite a lot of, during COVID, we had students from schools writing postcards to our older people. So what we're very open to is if someone's got an idea, we will try it.
Yeah.
And what we realise is that different things work for different people. And the lottery, of course, we have to be accountable for our targets and things, but they have been really good with us, trusting us to try new things.
And I think you've said it all the way through this walk, that everybody's an individual.
Oh,
and what may work for one person may not work for the other. So being able to have that flexibility and those new innovations, new ideas, move forward, just empowers people in different ways.
That is so true. And I think, in a way, Alex, I feel like the more we can let individuals be the best version of themselves, the better.
Yeah.
Because there's no one right way of being, is there?
No, I completely agree with you. And if everybody were the same, it would be a very boring world.
So true, yeah.
So no, thank you for telling me a little bit about your background, because I think it's really important that people also know that within all these different organisations in the community, that, you know, there are real people behind them.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their story, and everybody does the job that they're passionate about for a reason.
Yeah.
So, keeping on yourself a little bit, Rohini, what makes this job and this role for you so rewarding?
Oh, that's a fantastic question, Alex. I think what I get is personal satisfaction in knowing that everything we're doing is about enabling individuals to help themselves.
Yeah.
So I like that idea that we're working to empower people to build their agency. So what we're doing is giving people a toolkit and saying, look, there are all of these things happening in the community. Give us your ideas for new things you want us to try. And we have seen people embrace that, and there have been so many journeys of change where somebody that came to us, say, as a client that needed help, has got so much from their befriending volunteer and some of the groups they've gone to that they are now volunteers themselves.
Okay,
or they've
fantastic.
they've set up new groups for others to join. So I think it's a very, very personally rewarding situation. But what I love the most is seeing other people around me flourish through their own effort. Yeah, because you can lead a horse to water, but it's up to them to take the opportunity and convert it.
No, I completely agree with that. And on the flip side, and this is going to be a double answer, what is your sort of biggest challenge personally within VASL, and what do you find maybe one of VASL's biggest challenges are?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So for me personally, what I'd say is at the moment we're still getting lots of referrals for clients who need company.
Yeah.
So we get those referrals from adult social care or from other charities, from social prescribers and GP surgeries and local area coordinators, and sometimes families and individuals themselves, which I think is really brave, saying, look, I realise I need some help with reducing my loneliness. So in September, we're going to do a big recruitment drive to get more volunteers.
Yeah.
And post-COVID, as we discussed earlier, it has been really hard to get new volunteers. So that's definitely one thing that's on my mind.
Yeah.
I think for VASL more generally, it is a really, really tough funding environment for charities.
Yeah.
And VASL has been very fortunate. We've secured funding for some of our projects, but many of them are coming up to needing renewal.
Yeah.
So I think what we're thinking about is how can we as a charity raise funds in different ways?
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got involved with things like a swim marathon where we raise money for the community at large.
Yeah.
We're working with companies more. So I mentioned Hastings Direct. We also do a lot of partnership work with Market Harborough Building Society. Yeah. So it's trying to think outside the box, because what we're finding is that there are a lot of people who know about VASL and haven't really had the chance to support us, whether that's through becoming a volunteer, or whether that's through sharing their skills in a different way, because really they're our ambassadors,
yeah.
or whether it's financially. So yeah, I think fundraising is a really big challenge at the moment.
No, and I think, you know, just through this walk, I felt like I knew quite a bit about VASL before we came, but actually I didn't realise how extensive and everything that you do for the community. So I think a lot of people go, oh yeah, I know of VASL, but I truly doubt there's anybody who can say, I know exactly what they do, and how to get in contact and how to support them.
Yeah. And I think, Alex, that's a good point you're making, because I think the other thing about VASL is it never stands still.
Yeah.
So we've always got, you know, new projects in development. And so I would really encourage people to look at our social media, look at our website, ring up and talk to us. We always love having a face-to-face connection like this, because we are all about having a vibrant community.
Yeah. No, and for someone who is maybe, you know, thinking or toying with the idea about volunteering, what would you say to that person?
For me, I think volunteering is one of the most powerful things you can do. And the reason I say that is that volunteers benefit from what they do if they can find the right role for them.
Yeah.
That the beneficiary, whoever they help, benefits, but also that society benefits.
Yeah.
Because you get greater community cohesion. So what I would say to you is, if you've got a little bit of time, and it could only be like half an hour a week, to help someone else in a way that is enjoyable to you is really powerful. So for some people, the driving might appeal to them.
Yeah. For
other people, they might be really interested in nature, so volunteering at a nature reserve. For other people, making relationships, and maybe the befriending or the well-being. It's finding the right niche for you, because the more it fits into you and your lifestyle, the more likely you are to carry it on. I've also seen research, Alex, believe it or not, that says volunteering makes you happier.
Yeah.
And volunteers tend to live longer than people who don't volunteer.
Well, there you go.
So they're a pretty big place.
Everybody needs to volunteer then.
Yeah, I think so. But I think the one thing we have learned is it's important that people find a role that suits them, because as we've discussed, different individuals like different sorts of volunteering opportunities.
Yeah, and I truly believe, whether it's at work or, you know, personally, if you find something you love doing, you're going to give it your all. And especially, you know, if I relate it back to Bridgewater and our care specialists, if they enjoy what they do and they want to do it, they're going to give 100% to the clients, and they're going to make the difference to that client. And it's the same with your volunteers. If they're in that right role where they feel that they're not volunteering, they're just going out and they're enjoying themselves, the difference it will make, you know, for the person they're supporting will be, you know, completely head and shoulders above someone who's potentially in the slightly wrong role.
Absolutely right. What we find, Alex, is that if you play to people's strengths, they just grow. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We had a volunteer that used to work in the consultancy sector. So her background was in IT. She's become a digital volunteer. She now helps us to train digital volunteers. And for her, that is a really lovely recognition of a very special skill set she's got. We've got other volunteers that used to work in the health service in various roles, and they are exceptional people in terms of giving care and compassion. So when they are volunteer befrienders, you can just see the joy they're getting from having regular contact with clients, building a relationship, helping the client to be in a place where they are more confident and more connected.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. And one other question. What keeps you going, Rohini? Because, like we just said, everyone's different. everybody has their own challenges in life.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need that bit of motivation to get up and get going in the morning.
Yeah.
So what is it for you that keeps you going?
Right.
Even personally or through VASL?
Yeah, so for me personally, I think there is a fire in the belly, like a lot of people have, to want to make a positive change.
Yeah.
Because I think if you can help someone or make your community better, why wouldn't you? And for me, I have a really, really special soft spot for VASL.
Yeah.
Because what I love about it is it's a really fantastic organisation in that we've got all the right policies and procedures. But every single person that works at VASL, we've got about 18 part-time staff, is there because they want to make a difference. And so everybody goes the extra mile or two.
Yeah.
So what I like, so say as a manager, I know that everyone in my team will be there for volunteers. If volunteers have got any issues or concerns, we'll be there for clients. We'll be there to talk to partner organisations. So we work with lots of partner organisations like Market Harborough Libraries, Adult Learning Service, GP surgeries, organisations like yourselves. So what I like is that coming together of a community to do the best for everyone.
Completely agree with that.
And then I think from a VASL point of view, we are so motivated by seeing our communities thrive.
Yeah.
So I think it's, that idea of a virtuous circle.
Yeah.
So if you do something good, then that will come back, and then that builds on its own momentum.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's brilliant. No, thank you for sharing that with us, Rohini. And thank you for joining us today. It's been lovely, and it's been a pleasure to, walk with you, and you can tell how much you love the job and your enthusiasm and your passion about it. So actually, I've had a really great time.
Oh, thank you so much, Alex. I've really enjoyed it, and it's been really nice actually to reflect on VASL and all the things that it does. And I think what you're doing through making these podcasts is really inspiring as well, because it's getting information out in a different format, maybe in a more accessible format, so people haven't got time to read lots and lots of documents. This is such a pleasant way of sharing information. So thank you for this opportunity.
No, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us on today's episode of Building Bridges. And we were joined by Rohini of VASL, their community champion. And we went through the support that VASL can provide into the community, the work they do, and also found out if you volunteer, you can potentially live longer. And we hope you join us on the next one.